Welcome to Hire Power, the show where we cut through the noise and get real about hiring. I'm Kim Frost, founder of Frost Connections, and after 25 plus years in the search industry, I've seen what works and what absolutely doesn't. If you're a founder, CEO, VP, or HR leader who's tired of bad hires and ready to build a team that actually fits your culture and vision, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to Hire Power. We're continuing to dive into the details of the leadership trends for our 2026 series. So let's do a quick recap. Trend number 1, we talked about clarity is the new leadership superpower, and I still stand by that. It is the number 1 trend. Number 2, AI is raising the bar for human leadership. And last week, trend number 3, we talked about thinking about culture as your operating system. And this week, trend number 4, and I'll be honest, this one is going to sting a little. You know me and my transparency and honesty, hopefully with compassion. You cannot hire your way out of broken leadership. And this is especially crucial for smaller companies because in smaller organization, one leadership hire can genuinely move the needle and not necessarily in a good way. The bet is bigger, and with that, the risk is bigger. Things are way more magnified in smaller organizations. So I see this constantly. I call it the savior mindset. We just need a rock star. We need someone who can fix X. We need, oh, it's really a purple squirrel. But underneath that, whether it's said out loud or not, is this: the person will save us. We need this person to save us. Let's be honest. In a 40, 60, even 100-person company, a sales leader, an operations leader, a GM, they have real impact. They can change revenue, they can change execution, they can change energy. And here's where it gets dangerous. When that hire is expected to fix not just their function, but the underlying leadership issues that haven't been addressed. So let me give you a real example. Several years ago, we were hired to replace a sales leader who was retiring. This person was honestly a superstar. They had deep relationships, outstanding reputation. They could do their job in their sleep. Replacing them was already high pressure because of this. But what we weren't initially told, and what unfortunately we surfaced later, was the CEO was quietly banking on the new sales leader to save the company. There were broader strategic issues that we started to uncover as the search continued. Other performance gaps, internal friction. And instead of addressing those head on, the hope was if we just hire the right sales leader, things will stabilize, our revenues will increase, and we really don't have to deal with the dysfunction. That's really an enormous and unrealistic weight to put on someone, especially someone who just left another role to step into yours. It's really the unfair transfer of responsibility if you think about it. You cannot transfer years of unresolved leadership decisions onto a new hire and call it an opportunity. That's not strategy, that's avoidance. And in smaller companies, that avoidance shows up so much faster and it hits harder because there's nowhere to hide. One leader walking into unclear authority, executive misalignment, political friction, inconsistent accountability, they're not stepping into an opportunity, they're stepping into a pressure cooker. And when it doesn't work, the narrative becomes they weren't strong enough. Instead of, what did we do to help them succeed? which is always one of my favorites. So, what do you do instead? And this is the part that matters because before you launch your next critical search, especially in a smaller company, here are the practical steps that change outcomes. One is surface the real problem. Ask yourself, as a leadership team, what problems are we actually trying to solve? Is it revenue growth, process discipline, leadership alignment, culture repair, strategic confusion? If you say we need a strong leader, that's not specific enough. If you can't articulate the true business problem, you'll default to personality based hiring. This will be desperation, and you don't want to hire somebody out of desperation. Second step, align internally before you hire externally. Get brutally honest in the room, and sometimes it's getting brutally honest with yourself. Are your priorities aligned? Are you aligned on how success is measured? Are you aligned on how much authority this role will really have? Because if your executive team disagrees on what the new hire should do, that new hire is going to walk in and feel it immediately, and you're not setting that person up for success. Alignment before hiring saves you from alignment after failure. And this goes back to trend number one, your superpower of clarity. The third thing, define decision rights clearly. Write this down. What can this person decide independently? What requires executive approval? What requires consensus? And what is completely off limits? Ambiguity here is where frustration and turnover begin. No strong leader wants to walk into a role where their authority is unclear or constantly overridden. Number four, address that known friction before this new hire walks in. If someone on your team, your leadership, if they're misaligned, fix it. If accountability is inconsistent, which I see more often than not, absolutely fix it. If there's a cultural issue everybody knows about, but no one addresses, you got to address it. Do not expect your new hire to referee leadership dynamics. That's not why they left their last job. And there's nothing worse than hiring a leader where they have to fire somebody on their team within the first 30 days. Again, you're not setting that person up for success. You, as a leader, need to do your job. Lastly, clarify measurable success. Not you need to be strategic or be that player coach. This is what we always do, which is really one of our three questions we ask when we launch a search is what does success look like a year from now? Paint that perfect picture. Give me your wish list. Then this is where we stumble when we say, okay, break it down to 30, 60, 90 days or 30, 60, 180 days. Because if we can't break that down within that time frame, that's an issue. What outcomes would make you say this was absolutely the right hire? Or as what I say, I call you a year from now and you say, Kim Smith was the best hire I could have never imagined. And then when I say, what made that hire so amazing? That's where we get those expectations. Because if you can't answer that clearly, guess what? Neither can they. And how are you going to measure success? The 2026 leadership shift. That's a mouthful. Sorry. The real shift I'm seeing in stronger companies, regardless of size, heading into 2026 is this. Leaders are absolutely taking ownership before they hire. They're asking, what needs to change and how we lead so this person can succeed here? That is mature leadership. That is leadership that people want to work for. Remember, hiring is not a rescue strategy. Yes, it's a reinforcement strategy, but whatever you're hiring into, it is amplified whatever system already exists. So if your leadership is aligned, clear, and accountable, a great hire is going to accelerate that growth. But if your leadership is fragmented, a great hire absorbs that friction and can actually get caught up in that friction and manage to that friction. And friction drains even the best talent. Okay, trend number 1, clarity gives direction. Trend number 2, AI increases exposure. Trend number 3, culture determines stability. Trend number 4, you can't hire your way out of leadership you're unwilling to fix. And smaller companies, especially where one leader can shift everything, this matters even more. Before you look outward for that perfect rockstar candidate, look inward at the environment you're asking them to step into. Because sustainable growth isn't about finding someone to save you, it's about building a company that doesn't need saving. All right, gang, next episode, we'll move into trend number 5, why the best leaders in 2026 are playing the long game with succession and bench strength. And that one, well, I'm just going to say this could challenge you in a different way. I'll see you next week.
That's it for this episode of Hire Power. If you're ready to hire smarter, connect with me at frostconnections.com or at LinkedIn at Kim Frost. And if you've got something to say about today's episode, follow the show and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, hire smart, lead better, and remember, how you hire is who you become. See you next week. No fluff, just better hires.